In this video, let's go ahead and apply what we know about the slopes of perpendicular lines to find a missing value together. First off, it's important to know that segment EF is going to be perpendicular to segment GH, so that means the slopes of them are going to be opposite reciprocals of each other. Let's focus on segment EF first. We know we have these 2 points of E, which is -6, y, and F, which is 6, +5. Let's call the -6 and +6 x1 and x2. And let's go ahead and call the y and 5, y1 and y2. Let's go ahead and use this information to find the slope for line EF. We can find the slope of EF if we find the change of y over change of x. And so if we substitute in our values, we're going to have this expression right here. Now we can't go ahead and combine anything on the numerator, but we can in the denominator. So 6 minus this -6 is going to be +12. So we can say the slope for line EF is going to be this expression of 5 minus y over 12. For now, we're just going to have to keep this expression as a slope for line EF because we don't know the value for y yet. Now let's take a look at segment GH. We have these 2 points right over here. And for this line, we can call the 14 and 8 x1 and x2, and the 11 and -13 y1 and y2. Let's go ahead and use that information to find the slope for line GH. So using that same formula for slope, let's go ahead and plug in those values that we have for G and H. And so we're going to get this expression right here. But then we can just go ahead and combine these values on top so that we have -13 minus 11, which is going to be -24 on top. And then we can combine this 8 and this -14 on the bottom, so we have a -6 in the denominator. Now -24 over -6 is just going to simplify down to being +4, which is going to be the slope for line GH. So we have an expression for the slope of EF, and then we have the actual slope for line GH. Remember, for these two lines to be perpendicular to each other, their slopes have to be opposite reciprocals. Let's go ahead and use the slope that we do know to figure out how we can set up an equation to find y. Now we know the slope for line GH has to be 4, and line EF is perpendicular to line GH, then it has to have an opposite reciprocal slope. So the opposite of 4 is -4, and the reciprocal of that is going to be -1 over 4. This right here must be the slope for line EF. Now we found earlier that the slope of line EF is equal to this expression of 5 minus y over 12, but we also just found out that it has to be equal to this -1/4. Alright, now if these two are supposed to be equal to each other, then what can we write? Well, we can set these two expressions equal to each other, and we can see that we have a proportion. Now, up to you where you want to put this negative. I'm just going to put it in the numerator, but that's just where I prefer to put it. Just make sure you put it on top or bottom. Then we can go ahead and solve this proportion by just using these cross products here. So we can multiply these diagonals. If we go ahead and do that, they should form equivalent expressions. So this -1 multiplied by 12 on the left side, and then we're going to have 4 multiplied by this 5 minus y on the right side. On the left side, -1 times 12 is going to be this -12. And on the right side, let's go ahead and distribute this 4 to the 5 and to this -y. So 4 times 5 is going to be 20, and then 4 times -y is going to be -4y. At this point, we just have a two-step equation. So we can go ahead and take away 20 from both sides, and we're going to get -32 on the left side is equal to this -4y on the right side. And then we can go ahead and divide both sides by -4 to find out that y is going to be equal to +8. This would have to be the value for y so that line EF would be perpendicular to line GH. So if we're saying that y is equal to 8, we can go back and say that that is what this value is right over here. That's going to be on point E. So let's go ahead and see if we can plot these points on the coordinate plane to actually see if this makes sense. Alrighty, so our coordinate plane here only goes up to 10, so let's go ahead and scale everything. Let's count every box as 2 on the y-axis and by 2 on the x-axis. So for point E, it's at -6, 8, so that's actually going to be 3 boxes to the left and then 4 boxes up. So that's going to be in quadrant 2. This is going to be point E. Now for F, we have 6, 5, so we're going to go 3 boxes to the right and then 2.5 boxes up. So that's going to be in quadrant 1, and so that's going to be F right here. And if we draw a line through these 2 points, it would look something like this. Then we have point G, which is at 14, 11. So we're going to go 7 boxes to the right and then 5.5 boxes up. That's going to be over here in quadrant 1. That's going to be point G. And then finally we have point H, which is at 8, negative 13. So that's going to be 4 boxes to the right and then 6.5 boxes down. That's going to be in quadrant 4. That's going to be point H. Drawing a line through these 2 points of G and H, we can see the line that goes through them, and it does indeed look like it is perpendicular to line EF. And this hopefully does make sense because their slopes are opposite reciprocals, so this should make sense that they are perpendicular to each other. Just like that, we've confirmed that y does have to equal 8. And that just about wraps up this problem. If you found the video helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up and letting me know in the comment section down below. And as always, keep up the great work that you're already doing, and I'll see you in the next one.